Welcome to Game News for May 25th, 2013, and happy Memorial Weekend to North America. We're your hosts for this marvelous journey into the unknowns of gaming. Mike?
Hello.
And Grover?
Hello.
Who has a beak-ache this week. Were you part of the Mackay Lawn Dart Team Championships last Thursday?
I was, and unfortunately they won using me.
Nope, that's what I thought. And I'm often someone named Chris. So, the big news of this week was the unveiling of Microsoft's latest console, the Xbox One, and an hour-long event for the press that was also live-streamed to the public. The system boasted a 500-gig hard drive, 8 gigs of RAM, a Blu-ray drive, 64-bit architecture, Wi-Fi,
and a water cooler.
And USB 3.0, and is said to run nearly silently, quote, 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 though no word if you could actually fry an egg on it like I can with my current Xbox 360 due to the heat. So a water cooler could come in handy. It will come bundled with Connect 2.0, an advanced version that is supposedly even smarter and more sensitive, and may actually control the user, where they went on to show it off by, and I kid you not, watching TV and playing on the internet. That's right. On the plus side, the interface is actually pretty snazzy, allowing you to window what you're playing or watching, or you do other things like Skype or chat or internet surf, among many other things on the side. Microsoft bragged about having 15 exclusives in its first year alone, though not a peep is exactly what those exclusives were, with one exception of Quantum Break, which I'll mention in a second. But you can pretty much bank on Halo 5 if it's ready on time. They showed the new controller, which is a slightly revamped version of the older, with a now direct Wi-Fi, an integrated battery section, and a much more improved D-pad. Fighting gamers everywhere will thank you. And just exactly whatever impulse triggers truly are, which I've been told and shown in a demonstration video that the shoulder triggers basically now have their own independent rumble features. It seems like a waste of technology, but, you know, immersion, I get it. But that was about it. Yeah, Activision showed off some more Call of Duty Ghosts with an official trailer of sorts, showing off the ridiculous detail on new models and some behind-the-scenes stuff. And then EA actually went on first, but went on endlessly about their sports franchises and showing some canned footage. And then Max Payne creator Remedy showed off their Quantum Break, that's one part live-action TV show and one part adventure game that was kind of hard to make sense of, to be honest. And that was really it. Even most of the real questions weren't answered until after the event itself. Even the stream shut down without a goodbye, credits, music, fanfare, anything. It just stopped immediately after the trailer for Call of Duty Ghosts. Weird stuff.
Wow.
So, what was the highlight of the show meant to sell consumers on the next-gen console? An announcement by Steven Spielberg that he was in the works for a Halo TV series. Sort of cool news, even if you're not a Halo fan, but seriously, when your event show is being outstaged by a famous director simply looking into a camera and talking about a project nobody's even seen, I think that about sums up how this event unveiling went.
Horribly.
One of the asterisks. One of the after show. I know, I'm a mess. One of the after show confirmations they claim gamers could calm down about, and that is that the Xbox does not have to be connected online 24/7, and most any non-online games could be played without any concern. With one exception. Executive Phil Harrison told Kodaku in an interview that the system required connection to the cloud to deliver on many of its functions and expandability. When asked how often this needed to happen, just how long a gamer could go offline without concern, Harrison said, "I believe it's 24 hours. Wow.
24 hours.
Just wow.
What?
So it was shortly after that Microsoft representative clarified that this was a possible scenario and that nothing of that nature is yet confirmed. All the same, this sounds like the most DRM-heavy plan I think I've ever heard. And while there's some serious, legit secondary reasons, I think anybody would have to be a fool to think that this is not half of what this is about, is an anti-piracy plan.
Yeah, exactly what they're trying to do.
It has me completely uninterested.
And speaking of online, Smart Match is a system that supposedly will use online matchmaking systems that will link players with similar skill, language, and reputation for the best online experience. Likewise, it will also feature a game DVR that, like the PS4, will record the most recent gameplay at all times so players can edit highlights themselves and share them online. As I understand it, it's about 30 minutes of gameplay and it continually overwrites itself. Now, there's a lot of the footage that was being shown that hinted that the system will also include a DVR for TV, but that was not necessarily confirmed, and we are talking about a limited hard drive system, so speaking of that hard drive, the internal 500 gig memory bank will be a non-replaceable for upgrades, according to Microsoft. Something shady about that in itself. But they've gone on to confirm that the USB 3.0 system will easily let players use most any external drive for all system needs, like installing games and DVR usage. So I guess that kind of makes up for it. part, but they confirmed that the Xbox One's new system made backwards compatibility pretty much out of the question. So all Xbox and Xbox 360 titles will be unable to run on the new hardware. Xbox division head Don Maddock even told Wall Street Journal that 5% of gamers play past gen on new systems. Obviously, he's not including like retro titles like, Virtual Console and some things like that.
Yeah.
And that attention to putting old tech into new systems for just compatibility's sake was a bad idea. Coining the catchphrase that he's now using that, quote, if you're backwards compatible, you're really backwards, end quote. Of course, this also means that you will not be able to import all of those Xbox Live Arcade games that you've acquired, though they reiterated to simply keep your old 360 as nothing will happen to the Xbox Live stuff anytime soon, as well as you can import your gamer score and gamer tags to the new one. And unsurprisingly at this point, if you've already paid attention to what I've been saying so far, no prior peripherals like the older Kinect or any other controller will work with the new system either. And a source told Polygon that Microsoft is developing and testing a Series-style system, so the Xbox One will actually talk to players in a similar fashion, which will probably irritate more than assist, but you never know. Also in testing is a setup for players to be able to share playing a single-player game together online, a feature the PS4 is also working with. Okay, here it is, the elephant in the room. This is one of the many things that wasn't talked about at the actual unveiling and has been a controversy for months and months and months and continues to be so, strangely enough. And that is, report after report has come through the news pipeline that since the show where Microsoft has been doing damage control about the truth of all games will be required to be installed to the hard drive, whether the internal 500 gig hard drive or the USB connected externals. But this also means to reuse the game on another system, whether borrowed, rented, bought, used, whatever, the new user will not only have to install the game on their system all over again, they also have to pay both Microsoft and the game's publisher a fee not yet indicated, and the word is the publisher will set the fee for its own side. Ah, there's how you got through that loophole, EA. I see. And Xbox Live director Larry Hrib confirmed that you can bring a game to, say, a friend's house, log into your own account, and install the game and be just fine. But that's still a really awful approach. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And late breaking news from Polygon says that sources have told them that there's nothing set in stone about the activation fees, and only that it will force checks to verify a game's authenticity. There's not necessarily even going to be activation fees. That sounds like damage control, doesn't it? And apparently something about a possible exemption codes for people in poor or no internet areas. Which means that, now maybe I can actually think of even attempting an Xbox One because of my bad internet in my area.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do it. No one with poor internet would be able to. That's insanity.
Which is what Sony's been saying for quite a while now. And speaking of them, they've already clarified in the past that there will be no Sony take on pre-owned market, but activation fees could still come from publishers if they so choose. So, and Phil Spencer at the event, talking to GameSpot, quote, so we'll talk about some of the how at a later date, but I will say that we understand the importance of the secondary market. The secondary market was important in the current generation, and we designed the Xbox One understanding the secondary market would be important in the next generation as well. We'll share more details, but people should know that it is a design criteria for us on the new Xbox. Okay, I said a lot of that kind of paraphrased, but even then, most of that's word for word, and that is lingo for we knew we couldn't get rid of used games. That would just simply destroy our system. So instead, we're going to make a buck off of it. That's exactly what he just said. Shame on you, Microsoft. Shame on you. And Don Maddock went on to promise that they were committed to the Japanese audience as well, an audience they never have been able to grab in the course of the previous Xboxes. And executive Phil Harrison once went on record to combat the gamer reaction by saying that while the Xbox One is aimed at everyone and not just gamers, to bring entertainment experiences to a broad audience, quote, by making it simple and instant and complete, it means we can get men, women, young, old, to enjoy playing and interacting with the device. It's not just about core gamers, though they are incredibly important to our future. It's also about finding these entry points for all members of the household. Kind of a Wii approach, if you will.
Yeah.
He went on to say that with the Kinect built into the system itself, every developer, every publisher will want to push its features into all games instead of the small installation base of the old version for the 360. So does anybody out there feel differently about this than all of us? Let us know. But Microsoft is so sure of itself. This came in yesterday when a senior VP at Microsoft, Yusuf Mehdi, in fact, told OXM that in short he believes that before the end of the Xbox One's life cycle, because it is an all-in-one entertainment device plus a killer game console, that it's not impossible to expect the system to sell from, I am not kidding, 400 million to 1 billion units over the next decade. In comparison, Sony's PlayStation 2 and Nintendo's handheld DS 3DS, who have been fighting neck and neck for quite a while for the highest lifetime sales of a system in all of history, is only at about 155 million units at this time. So almost 3 times as much. Well, okay, about twice, but still.
Everybody at Microsoft are smoking crack, basically.
And I think this is kind of why we continually hearing all of these games are not meeting expectations of sales, despite the fact that they're on like number 3 on the top 10 charts. It's these numbers. And one last little bit of news. Microsoft hinted that Rare will be unveiling an Xbox One exclusive at E3 featuring the return of a classic franchise. Be it Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie, or the long-rumored Killer Instinct. We don't know yet. We can only wait and see.
I'll bet Banjo.
Probably. Whew. So with all of that out of the way, game news continues with other stuff, including 38 Studios once again in the news as the court proceedings begin in the case of the game studio who pulled a $75 million loan from the state of Rhode Island and a deal to bring the studio to the state where it went bankrupt under a $130 million debt. The state is now suing for the loss. Opening arguments were made on Wednesday, and the defendants are still trying to have the lawsuit thrown out on the grounds that no wrongdoing was actually intended, while the state's lawyer claims that it has, quote, an avalanche of evidence against the studio and its executives. There we go. And as part of an attempt to recoup some of the state's lost money, and this is really weird to say, I'm serious, the state of Rhode Island is selling the Kingdoms of Amalur franchise. And some unnamed parties are also interested. Wedbush Securities analyst Michael Pachter claimed that the franchise could be worth $20 million thanks to its blasting success in early 2012. And another bankrupt group, Atari Incorporated, the U.S. branch of the French Atari SA mother company, couldn't find buyers for any of their franchises, so they will be instead heading to the auction, including the Atari name itself, which I find a little bit confusing because the French Atari still exists, but what do I know about copyright law? Franchises like Test Drive, Total Annihilation, Roller Coaster Tycoon, and yes, even Fatty Bear's Birthday Surprise will all be selling off throughout the auction between July 16th and 19th. And Mike, you've been really quiet over there. I thought Grover was going to be the quiet one.
Sorry. I've got a cat in my lap, and I don't think he feels very good.
Oh, everybody's got feeling goodness. Bad.
Everybody's feeling like crap, even the animals.
Katie Couric caused some internet grumblings when she aired her special on the Katie Show called "Are Video Games Ruining Your Life?" Now, we talked about this last week, and if you remember, she tried to quell some of this by asking for feedback on Twitter about what people felt the positives of violent games were, so that she could use that for a future show. Couric has since acknowledged the show was one-sided, and she claims that invites were made to the ESA and Halo creative Bungie. Both declined, which is probably wise, seeing what an obvious ambush this probably was.
Well, at least she's being honest about it.
Yeah.
And Mike Fisher, president and CEO of Square Enix American branch, left his post earlier this month to begin work at Amazon Japan as vice president of digital music and video. You may remember the CEO Yuichi Wada also stepped down just a month prior due to the ongoing financial strife at the publisher. Oculus Rift, the VR headset that found funding on Kickstarter, bolsters its staff with addition of robotics expert from the University of Illinois' Steve LaValle and Valve's Team Fortress 2 VR specialist Tom Forsyth. There's been such a demand for the device that they haven't been able to get out their dev kits fast enough, even to the Kickstarter supporters that they had from so long ago, let alone the companies that are looking to get in on the tech. So this sounds like Oculus Rift is going to be a pretty big thing in the coming months.
Nintendo's preparing to give us a closer look into the new Wii U versions of Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, which I'm super excited for, and an unnamed 3D Mario game on June 11th. It seems like it will basically be the replacement for the E3 conference that they aren't going to be part of this year, after having been one of the big three showcasings almost every year since E3 began. And related news, the 3DS tactical role-playing game Fire Emblem Awakening has seen success strong enough that, according to its producer, Hitoshi Yaganami, it just might have saved the series from being cancelled. Now here's what he had to say. No doubt, truth be told, Fire Emblem sales are dropping. The sales manager of Nintendo, Mr. Hitano, told us that this could be the last Fire Emblem. Due to this progressive descent in sales, they told us that if the sales of this one stayed below 250,000 copies, we'd stop working on the series. At present, the game has sold more than 240,000 in the United States alone. It seems Fire Emblem will continue to live on and not be its Final Fantasy.
Here's some news for me. Arc Revolution Cup in Japan let loose last weekend in a big to-do that included the fighting game tournament and a live stage performance of several Guilty Gear and BlazBlue songs, and an announcement of a BlazBlue anime, and wound out with the surprise announcement of Guilty Gear Zerd Sign, a 2D fighting game that looks like a sprite game, but is actually 3D and built on the Unreal Engine.
Oh, wow.
And this is the return of Daisuke Ishiwatari to the series after Sega basically took over the Guilty Gear franchise, and that is why Arc System Works moved on to the BlazBlue series. And former PS3 exclusive Joe Danger and Joe Danger 2 from British indie developer Hello Games came to Xbox Live a while later, and now will both be coming to Steam with support of the Steam Workshops, and players can make and share their own levels, and hints that there's some more special stuff that will come with the PC version later this year. NetherRealms had high voltage screaming. NetherRealms had voltage software port Mortal Kombat, that's Mortal Kombat 9 to some people, to the PC with all of the complete edition goodies intact come July 3rd for digital download, and a month later will hit store shelves. And Racing Game Experts Codemasters has released a very special UK-only version of Grid 2. This is serious, folks, called the Mono Edition. And I don't mean mono as in the disease. Why is it so special? Get ready. Hold on. Because it's the one-of-a-kind package where you can get, for the low price of £125,000, which is like, I don't know, $200,000. So what could this possibly come with of the version to make it so expensive? Well, you get a PS3, you get the game itself, a racing suit, complete with a helmet, and a day trip to the BAC factory where British supercars are made, and, well, there's this whole road legal BAC Mono, the 2.3 liter 280 bhp 4-cylinder engine that can go from 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. There's that. Okay, then. So, buy a game, you get a car. How's that? Should it be the other way around?
Wow.
And SimCity gets the 4.0 update soon, rapidly trying to continue the fixes to the problem-filled but reasonably successful city building simulator. Included in the update is a new Bay region, more re-enabled features that were removed during the issues of the game, fixed rain clouds, and an exclusive launch park for early adopter sim buyers, and a bunch of other tweaks and fixes that you can find on their website. MapleStory has recently celebrated their 8th anniversary, while it preps a massive new update to the Korean end of the game, including cross-realm play, a new map with new hunting grounds and monsters and loot, PvP boss mode, where players can actually play as boss monsters, and a massive boss that will require at least 100 players to fight. Lag.
Whoa.
Oh, and no word on when the other servers like North America will get the patch, but I suspect soon enough. Dungeonland is getting some updates with new Infinite Dungeon, a casual mode, and a star system for challenge completions, and a lot of other updates and additions. Oh, one more thing. Chiptune Rock Guru's Anamanaguchi has launched their latest album, Endless Fantasy, and you can listen to it in its entirety on their channel on YouTube, so go check out some musical goodness! And that is game news for May 25th, 2013. Wow, a lot of Xbox stuff, and I'm sorry if I just talk so much that you got bored of hearing me. Because we've got one dude with a beak injured, and we got another dude that, I almost said that really, really wrong. Another dude with a cat in his lap. We'll use cat this time.
I thought you were going to say, that's great.
I almost did, and I didn't even think of the connotations of that. But, yes, we'll see you next week. I'll go hide under a rock.
See you later.